not just Bitcoin, but cryptocurrencies in general, creating a lot of buzz within the last couple of days, as they have been within the last couple of months, with good reason as well. Volatility being one of the themes that seem to mix all of the cryptocurrencies available out there at the moment.
I've literally lost $15,000 since I last saw you.
What, under the desk or something
like
that?
on my Bitcoin. Oh. I've got 2 Bitcoin. I've lost $15,000 since we were last here.
Is that volatile with the capital V or not?
Oh, that makes the VIX look tame.
Well, thankfully, we got the right person to address not just what's going on with Bitcoin, with El Salvador, with Kim Kardashian and others, but all things crypto as we come together and look at some of the big stories of the week. Lauren Horth is the head of marketing at Mex Digital. She joins us live on the line and live via Microsoft Teams. Lauren, thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Let's start in Southern America, if we may. El Salvador doesn't get many mentions on the business breakfast, which is our misgivings. But in the last few days, we've become experts on all things El Salvador. Let's set the sort of scene for this one, if we can, Lauren. So El Salvador became the first country to make Bitcoin official tender. Is that right?
Yep. That sounds right.
And that was, they made that decision a couple of months ago?
Yep.
And then
President Bukele sent it through, yeah.
Yesterday they pressed go on the process and it didn't go exactly according to plan. Tell me more.
Well, it's been an interesting process. I mean, the president is quite a young one, President Bukele. He's pushing it quite avidly. But the reality is it's an emerging market. Around 70% of the population are unbanked. And there's a lot of information to say that only a third of the population are actually using the internet. So whilst he's quite gung-ho about pushing Bitcoin, the citizens are not as convinced.
And that seemed to be the case yesterday because, there was a lot of song and dance about the fact that they become the first country in the world to make Bitcoin legal tender. Launch day yesterday, digital wallet system crashes. That's not ideal, obviously, for El Salvador, but also for Bitcoin. There's been a lot of suggestions that what happened in El Salvador yesterday has resulted in the very volatile losses for Bitcoin. Are the two related?
Jeepers, that's a difficult one to answer. I think Bitcoin likes to jump and dance with a whole lot of different variables. But El Salvador is an interesting project to watch. It was obviously going to be the nascent project, and everyone is waiting to see what actually happens. I think the first mover of any kind of project is often going to find bugs in the system. It depends highly on the adoption network and the infrastructure that's in place.
We have seen volatility when it comes to not just Bitcoin, but crypto in the past as well. So are you of the opinion that this is the first of similar stories with other countries around the world adopting not just Bitcoin, but other crypto as legal tender? I
think we're heading in the right path. This is not the first time that countries have adopted new currencies. I think Zimbabwe did that. There was a very evident project that was done or a use case that was done back in the day. They adopted the US dollar because of hyperinflation. So I think when countries start to adopt new official currencies, the first thing I think of is why. What's actually happening? Is there a problem in the economy? Are they trying to use it to circumvent the issues to bring the majority of the informal economy back into a formal economy? Perhaps they want to widen tax bases. So I'm sure this is not going to be the first. It's certainly not going to be the last we hear of this kind of thing, but I'm sure people are holding back to see whether El Salvador actually makes some inroads.
We watch this space with interest, and we watch the space and the ongoing spat, online and otherwise, between Kim Kardashian and her 200 million followers and Charles Randall and his 56 followers at the moment. Kim Kardashian has fallen foul of the ire of the Financial Services Authority or the UK Financial Conduct Authority, headed by Charles Randall, who came up with an extraordinary speech on Monday referencing Hercules and Greek fables, etc. Basically, because Kim Kardashian had mentioned a cryptocurrency, Ethereum Max, in one of her tweets. Now, how dangerous is this? And again, it's not the first time that we've seen celebrities get involved in mentioning crypto to their social followers. But is this something that we should be conscious and aware of?
Absolutely. We only need to take a look back at Elon Musk. I mean, he's not a paid influencer, but he's certainly an influential person. And he's got 59 million followers on Twitter. And he actually moved the market with his tweets about supporting Dogecoin. So now you take somebody with 250 million plus followers and a multi-million-dollar empire born from that. Kim Kardashian wields enormous power. So the regulators get very uncomfortable and believe that she should be taking into account that her followers may or may not do their own research about the products she promotes, blindly would take her word as law, and could absolutely expose themselves financially. Now, whilst the regulators can't necessarily go after influencers directly, they can absolutely wield serious penalties upon the FSPs, which do not comply, by using influencers who don't act responsibly in their eyes. In this effect, influencers are an extension of the marketing department.
But to that end, and look, it's not just the UK Financial Conduct Authority. We've also seen the US Securities and Exchange Commission, Air Concerns, European Parliament Committee have also done their bit, and the monetary unions over there. I mean, are they limited with the regulations they can put on to cryptocurrencies at the moment, just because we're in a very early stage of cryptocurrencies being traded on this scale?
Yeah, it's difficult. Cryptocurrencies and digital assets are regulated differently around the world and differ by jurisdiction. Financial services is difficult to market and communicate anyway, and then you bring in cryptocurrency where regulation isn't consistent around the world. So I think it's becoming quite frightening for some of the regulators, and all they are intending to do ultimately is to make sure that financial service providers are acting fairly, transparently, and efficiently. And if they're not seeming to do that, that's when the regulators are starting to get upset. But it's a tough one to regulate across the board if there isn't any consistency or some kind of universal standard.
Regulators have responsibility. What about the influencers? We've got about 30 seconds left. Do the influencers bear responsibility here as well?
Absolutely. I think, as they say, with great power comes great responsibility. And ultimately, if you can influence, you should take a little bit more consideration about what it is that you're promoting, for sure.
Lauren, finally, would you take financial advice from Kim Kardashian?
In a word, no.
Good on you, Lauren. Always good to catch up with you. Lauren is the head of marketing of Mex Digital, who joined us live on the line. Lauren Hoff is as I said, from Mex Digital on the line, but also on Microsoft Teams. Lauren, thank you very much indeed.